Hey everybody, welcome to the Roundtable Shorts, where we have an opportunity to go back into the archives and glean great information, great wisdom, great knowledge from our past guests and be able to learn from them in a shorter version of the podcast that they had done before. And our hope is that you'll take an opportunity to listen to them and be able to glean or to be able to take that information and apply it to your life. And so in this first short, we have Troy Oswald, where he talks about just the importance of finding the right person. And I think in that, one of the things we challenge you with is that a lot of times in life, we look at people and think that they're unable to be fixed, or we look at people in life and we think that they're a project that's not worth working on. And in this Roundtable short, you're going to see where Keely invested into Troy and gave him a chance, and how Troy now is so grateful in how Keely invested him and the great things that he's now doing in life because of her. And it just shows, if you're out there listening, picking the right person and having the right person in your life is going to be really important. So listen up or watch this next Roundtable short.
Invested a lot. Like when you're talking about investing in people, that's one of the biggest investments I've ever seen someone partake into another person ever.
Keely, she took you under her wing.
She did. Yep. I'm not trying to, boost her up at all, but I am who I am today because of her. No joke.
Yeah, no, we want to boost her up.
No, that is amazing.
She is.
So do you think you would have continued on that lifestyle, like if not for
I would have
her?
been screwed. So.
Right. And so Keely was seriously what turned you around?
Yeah, so
I love that.
No, I mean, but here, we could just use this as a story.
I know.
You always hear people say this, which most of the time it's true. Mm-hmm. We can't ever change them. But Keely proved
you talked about this in a service before. And so we were sitting there talking. I kind of like bumped her. I'm like, hey, talking about talking about us. Like, So yeah, she was going to school at St. Francis, and she was working at Scott's when it was at Coventry and Tumbleweed.
Mm-hmm.
So she had two jobs, and she was going to college.
Wow.
And we started talking a little bit, and we'd go to the Gold's Gym when it was still open. And so we were sitting there lifting weights and stuff. And she's like, you go to church? And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to church. And she's like, well, anybody that I'm going to be with and, do anything with, like, I need them to go to church. I'm like,
there you go, Keely. Good job.
When is church next week? Like,
What
that's
time?
what I was about. Like, so basically, I had no desire to seek God.
Right.
To be honest, like it wasn't even on my radar.
Right.
But when I met her, I just wanted to be around her. So inadvertently, like I started going to a boy Lutheran church with her, and we went there a few times, and it really didn't last too long. Like I don't want to say like how God got a hold of me, but I'm gonna say that like I was going this way,
right?
And there's no other explanation of how she ended up in my life than him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way that two people just intersect like that randomly.
Right.
And so complete opposite people. Complete opposite standards. She doesn't cuss. She doesn't drink. She don't smoke. And I was the complete opposite. Like I was doing all those in abundance. So it's like, how does it even happen?
Right.
And so looking back, it's God at work.
Right.
And he had
Give me goosebumps.
he had a bigger plan for me than what I could have ever imagined, even what she can imagine. He knew we were going to have kids. We didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. The more that I felt like truly loved by her, I had no other choice but to love her back. Like, there was just something about someone investing so much time in you and so much energy. Like, why would you not want to be around that person all the time?
Like when you say that you can't fix somebody or a guy, or you can't fix a guy, I would like turn it back to investing in somebody, because that's exactly what she did.
Right.
So if somebody's investing in them, do you not think that can happen?
Well, I don't think in a marriage, the whole idea of investment, I think I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like you talk to a lot of people, they don't really work on their marriage. Mm-hmm. Like they're in relationship, but they don't really invest. Like the whole idea of you have a love language, and I do think Troy said it is because Keely kept investing in him and loving him.
Right.
It changed something in him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Where I was saying, a lot of times in relationship, it's not so much investment, it's just a relationship. Mm-hmm. And you're like, we're completely opposite. He's probably not where he should be, but you don't know how to fix it, or you don't know how to invest. And I think that's where it goes down the road. Mm-hmm. That is wrong.
I think people can definitely just coexist and just
Definitely.
live parallel and live on the same plane, but never really intersect and build into each other.
Right.
Like I don't feel like feel like in our relationship she's never left me behind.
Right.
And I'm so far behind, if that makes sense. Like where she was spiritually when we first met, even like financially, and just like she had it together, like, and I did not.
Right.
But she never left me behind.
So what were some ways that she did like invest in you that truly made the difference?
Well, like I'm saying, like I needed a ride to work. We worked at the same place, and she drove by my mom and dad's house. I mean, somewhat.
Yeah.
But she took an extra 10 minutes. She left her mom and dad's house 10 minutes early to make sure that I was able to get to work, that I can make the money that I needed. I mean, she would come get me from my parents and drive me all the way back to Huntington to take a drug test once a week. Like she was just always there no matter what.
Right.
Like random things like, hey, I'm going to the mall. Do you want to go?
Right.
And like we weren't together, like we were hanging out.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Right.
Like, and no matter what kind of stupidity I was on or whatever I was doing, like she was always there loving me. No questions asked.
So what would you do, like, now that you know that story? So let's just say one of your sons. What's your son's name that doesn't have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Okay, I know he doesn't have a boyfriend.
Yeah, thanks, buddy, for not doing that. I appreciate it.
Seriously.
Eli.
Okay, so if Eli wants to pick a girl and she's wild, would you be okay if he dated her?
I think I would.
Okay.
That's a good question.
People are...
Because, some people are very rigid that way then and say, like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, who am I to judge? Because at the end of the day, I was wild too.
No, I know, but I think most parents would say it's our job to protect, so that's why we don't want to let our kids.
It is. There would be precautions and there would be things that we would look at for sure. But what I'm getting at is, like, I've had a past, you've had a past. I mean, we've all had a past. And
right.
Like if somebody judged me how I was when I was 15 or 16, I'd be doomed. So how can I do that? You know what I mean? Especially when the person that we're talking about, my wife, didn't judge me on that.
Right.
Like, oh, you just got out of jail, you're all jacked up. Like I can't have anything to do with you.
Right.
That wouldn't be fair to do that to someone else, I don't think, especially when I've been given such an opportunity by another human being.
Right.
It was just God's will. I mean, it's really nothing that I did. Like, I wasn't seeking her, and I don't think she was really seeking me.
I would like to hear her perspective on this.
It's the exact same.
We have to get...
Like, did she hear from God? Like, did she, like, I want to know how
Or was
that.
she just looking at your biceps and
Yeah.
saying,
No.
That's how it started.
The Punisher got her.
Yeah, the Punisher got her. Right? He's back there doing dishes with a cut-off white T-shirt.
Yeah.
She's like, dude.
Scrubbing that. Yeah, that man can do dishes.
That's how I had to start. Right? Yes. Yes. It has
I need
always
to
have
know.
a physical attraction.
That's what is exactly what I was going to say.
has
It's
to.
always a physical thing. So
Oh, well,
sure,
duh.
people are going to walk by each other and be like, yeah, you got it going on. But
Right.
I think that only lasts for so long.
Right.
You know, like you can see through everyone's BS
No,
like
I know,
super
but like
fast.
using that as because I think it's a fun example because again, she got to know you, she thought you were hot. You guys date, then she found out you don't have your license, you just got out of jail. Right? So my point just was in normal situations, whoever's Keely's parents were in a if you put it in the Christian model,
Exactly.
they say, don't date that guy.
Oh,
That's all I'm saying.
Her dad said it a lot.
Really?
He's like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to last. And,
Wow.
and her dad ended up being one of my best friends.
Okay.
So, you know, he passed away 5 or 6 years ago, which that's rough because our kids are just starting to get older at the time. And, you know, he missed, he's not missing out on anything now. You know, I mean, he's looking down like he's, you know, he's full of joy and happiness. Like, I'm sure he still wants the best for us and wants us to live a meaningful life, but he's not sad.
Right.
You know, our boys were sad, but yeah, I'm sure he said it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
There was times she
Wow.
would tell me, she's like, my dad don't think it's gonna work. Even when we were married, I think probably like he was probably like, oh my gosh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I mean, it's a good example that God can do things. It's just interesting as you talk through dating and what do we tell our kids and how much do we control their friend groups and how much do we control their dating experience? What should be that role and how should that look like? Because you're an example of, wow, I mean, you got a good woman and she flipped you around.
Yeah.
She did. Like, I wanted to be a part of what she was doing. Like, I mean, you know her and see her. Like, she always has a smile on her face.
She's so sweet.
She is just a happy person. And, you know, I was miserable and there's days I still am, and she's like, dude, like you have so much to be grateful for. Like even 20 years in, like she still builds into me.
Right.
Like I think I'm just a pessimist, like on a daily.
You are?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I always see the glass half empty. But she's always right by my side, and, you know, she holds me up a lot.
Right.
And she's like, hey man, like you have a lot to be grateful for. Just take a breath today and just look around.
Right.
And
That's awesome.
it really helps.
Right.
So even to this day, she still hasn't stopped investing in me. So
Right.
I'm super grateful. Me and Keely always say, like, yeah, things are rough. Some days it sucks. Like it's hard, it's tough. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm gonna hug her and kiss her and tell her that I love her. And we're gonna sleep in the same bed. We're gonna wake up in the same bed. And yeah, we might have had a rough day, but we're gonna work on it the next day.
Right.
Or the next day or the next day. It's not gonna stop.
Right.
And I don't know, you know, there's a lot of distractions in the world, a lot of things going on, a lot of things that can pull you off course, but at the end of the day, she's where I want to be. So,
Right.
you know,
Well, and I think it's
takes
proof
work.
of everything we talked about is a good woman, good man, as a team, they make a great team.
For sure. Yeah.
Great individuals, but better team.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's all.
Wow, what an incredible story to be able to hear from Troy how important it was for Keely to invest into his life. And so, again, we just would challenge each one of you out there that are listening to, one, take an opportunity. Maybe you're in a relationship with somebody that is challenging and that you're wondering whether you should give up. And here's a story that you can listen to and or watch where you see a long-term investment has made a significant difference in the life of Troy. And so if that's you, we challenge you to stick with it, you know, and ask God to do the things you can, but do your part in that. Or if you're somebody out there that's maybe you don't think that you're worth being invested into, just if you find the right person, put yourself out there. And as you put yourself out there, if you find that right person, they're going to make a significant difference in your life.